We need to change the way we talk about climate change. It's not some future threat coming down the line. It's happening right now, killing people right now. A third of Pakistan is estimated to be underwater after unprecedented monsoon rains ravaged that country, the worst flooding in Pakistan's 75-year history. Officials say that at least 500,000 people have been displaced, forced from their homes. The floodwaters cover an area as big as the entire state of Wyoming. Satellite pictures show they've created a massive inland lake where before there was only dry land. And they've killed nearly 1,200 people officially. For sure, that's an underestimate at this point, including this man's son, for example.
मैं आपको क्या बता रहा हूँ, क्या बताऊँ आपको? वो तो मेरे दिल पे गुजर रही होगी ना.
It's an absolute human tragedy. And the climate devastation that's caused it, it's happening right now, not just in Pakistan, because while that country has a new lake as a result of climate-induced flooding, China has lost its largest freshwater lake after months of extreme drought, the worst on record. The Kidney Lake has almost completely dried up. It's astonishing. The entire Yangtze River basin has been affected, delaying shipping and severely reducing the country's hydropower supply. Several Chinese cities are going without power since they can't generate electricity from hydroelectric dams. And if you're sitting at home in the United States right now thinking, wow, I'm so glad this is happening overseas, far away, and not here in America, well, I've got some bad news for you. The extreme effects of climate change are happening here too. In Kentucky, residents are still struggling to find clean drinking water after deadly floodwaters swept through the state early last month. And we already discussed the flooding in Jackson, Mississippi earlier in the show. In California, the effects of drought and extreme heat have experts warning that wildfire season could be one of the worst ever. Meanwhile, in Texas, at least one person died in a, quote, 1,000-year flood after Dallas was pounded with a foot of rain in just 12 hours. But shockingly, Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott is one of the many Republicans still in denial about these increasingly common extreme weather events. 1,000-year, 100-year extreme weather events that seem to be happening a lot more frequently these days because of climate change. Have a listen to Greg Abbott speaking with a reporter on all this.
Are you concerned about climate change?
We constantly focus on issues such as extreme weather, and we want to be prepared for whatever type of weather may be coming our way.
Can you even say climate change?
Next outlet. 2 more questions.
I'd like to ask the mayor one thing.
He's nodding, but he can't. We talk about the big lie, about QAnon, about other conspiracies that conservatives are pushing these days. But isn't climate change denialism the original big lie right-wing conspiracy? The de facto leader of the Republican Party, Donald J. Trump, remember him? He's called it a Chinese hoax. And a lot of Republicans in the House and Senate agree with him. In fact, it took Congress 50 years to pass climate action, finally, as part of the Inflation Reduction Act it sent to Joe Biden's desk for signature this summer. The hundreds of billions of dollars that this new law, the Inflation Reduction Act, will put into fighting climate change is certainly a huge and much-needed step forward. But will it be enough to stop climate change from killing and displacing more and more people, both at home and abroad? Bill Nye, perhaps America's foremost science educator, has been sounding the alarm on the climate for many years now, urging our leaders and the American public to follow the science. And he has a new show on Peacock called The End is Nigh, what a great title, which explores potential disaster events and how we can maybe avoid them.
Why is it that every disaster movie begins with someone in power ignoring a scientist?
People are sick of all the doom and gloom.
Because it happens more than you might think. This is gonna really suck, right? It doesn't have to go down that way. Together, we can save Earth with science. Join me as I take on 6 world-ending disasters. Each one leading to my imminent doom.
Brace yourself!
So, yeah, I guess you could say I really am dying to save the world.
That man really knows how to have fun, even in the middle of a disaster. In the midst of these chaotic, extreme natural disasters happening in every corner of the globe, Bill Nye's new show seems very timely, and I'm delighted to say that Bill Nye, the man himself, joins me now. Bill, thanks so much for coming back on the show. In your new show's trailer, you mention how often scientists' warnings are ignored, especially in disaster movies. And indeed, we still have a lot of prominent climate deniers in America, including the leader of the Republican Party. Have you found that it is possible for scientists to get through to climate deniers using scientific evidence, or just pointing to what's happening in Pakistan or in Kentucky or California?
Not really, no. I mean, it's as evidenced by how long it took to pass the Inflation Reduction Act, which is a climate bill at its core. But it did pass. And so, as the saying goes, it's very reasonable that now that this bill is passed, conservative lawmakers will find out that they can still get reelected. And so then they will take stronger measures in the coming weeks and years. And so that's what we need, everybody, to do everything. And so there's no magic bullet. There's no one thing that's going to fix this. We want to have a fee on carbon. We want to, by as soon as possible, certainly reduce them by 40% in 2030. And we want to have drought control measures out west. So I'm in California, and we're outdoors. It's well above 30 Celsius, well above 95 Fahrenheit. It'll be above 100. That is very unusual. It's unprecedented overall. And since the 1st of September, not the 1st of July, where we're seeing these very high temperatures. And it's happening worldwide. And so it's getting harder and harder to ignore. And people say to me, what can I do about climate change? What can I do? And people want to not print emails, and you don't want to you don't want to waste water. Sure. You want to turn your thermostat up in the summer, down in the winters. Yes. But the main thing, everybody, is vote. Vote for people, lawmakers who are going to take the environment into account.
It's a very good point, and it's a very hopeful message. Although a lot of people would say, okay, we vote. We got a Democratic Congress that wants to take climate action. We got a president who passed the most ambitious climate bill in American history. And yet you also have an unelected, pretty hard right Supreme Court handing down pretty controversial decisions when it comes to the climate. For example, in July, the top court in the land ruled that the EPA's ability to regulate greenhouse gases from U.S. power plants, they limited its ability to do that. What did you make of a decision like that? What do you make of this court when it comes to science, and especially climate science?
Well, we just have to, voters and taxpayers have to work around them. They're not going anywhere. They got put in place by the systems that were established a couple centuries ago. You could even, I'm sure if you interviewed them, they would say they meant well. They mean to interpret the law as it's written. Okay, so we need better laws, everybody. We need laws that this very conservative court cannot derail. We have been relying, and this is not controversial, we've been relying on these precedents to get us by in environmental regulations. And we can't do that anymore. Now we need more succinct laws that will address emissions, will address electricity production, distribution, transmission. We need laws that will address clean water. And look, everybody, the big idea that's happened. When I was a kid, there were fewer than 3 billion people in the world. Now there are almost 8 billion people. And so we are in charge now. Humankind is in charge of this planet. And we have to treat it that way. It's like if you've ever owned a house, you got to take care of the house. The house doesn't take care of itself. And so we are now in charge of the planet. So, it's a different way of looking at it.
So in your new show, you look back at what's happened in the past as well to learn lessons from history. In one of the episodes of your new show, you take us back in time to the original Dust Bowl of the 1930s to try and understand how droughts mess up our food supply, how we can avoid repeating history. What is the lesson from that time period for today, do you think?
Well, one of my messages is we need regulations, everybody. And we don't need regulations for regulation's sake. We just need agricultural practices to respect the neighbors.
you can't take all of your neighbors' underground waters, for example, and you can't plow fields in a way that leads to catastrophic erosion. And we need crops that can tolerate droughts, that can tolerate floods. And for that, as you may know, I changed my mind on this years ago. We are going to need sophisticated genetically modified crops. Now, they can be modified through conventional breeding, the way Thomas Jefferson, George Washington did it. Say what you will about them. They were very thoughtful in that regard. And we'll need them to be modified in modern genetic engineering ways. And so this is all doable, you guys. It's just, we need to get to work. And so when you vote, vote basic research too.
Last quick question for you. Dr. Anthony Fauci is retiring from his job in the US government this December after 4 decades in his top post. But he has to have armed security because of the threats against him, a public health official. You are the science guy to millions of people in this country. Did you ever think a top scientist in America would need armed bodyguards?
No. To answer your question, no, I never thought that would happen. But once again, what we ended up with accidentally was 2 organizations. We have the Centers for Disease Control, and then we have the National Institutes of Health. And they weren't butting heads, but inconsistencies in their presentations enabled science deniers to spread misinformation. And so what we have a group of people in our society that is not questioning things. They're not, as the modern phrase is, they're not thinking critically. And there's a great word, credulous. They believe in things. They just want to believe in things. And so this has led to misinformation growing. We can solve this problem, everybody, through education. We can do this. Let's be optimistic. You're not going to win the game. Serena Williams didn't win because she thought she was going to lose. I'm Serena. I'm going to win. And she did.